Greetings, this is Marvin Henriquez. We're here with the author of various romance novels, Nicola Italia, to speak about or talk about her latest book, The Love in the Valley of the Kings, which I happen to have read and I thoroughly enjoyed. How are you today, Nicola?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And we're going to jump right in. Well, first with a question.
Okay.
What does it take, and this is something that one of the readers was asking,
Okay.
what does it take to be a character in one of your books? If somebody wants to be portrayed in your books as either the villain or the hero, what would it take?
I was about to say, did they want to be a villain or a good the heroine or the hero? You know, it's funny, and I'm sure other writers are like this. I never set out to put anybody in my novels. As I start to think about my next novel, I think about the setting, most importantly, the time, you know, where it's going to be 18th century, 19th century. And then I start making the characters come alive. I create them, you know, physically, what they're going to look like, their names. And then it just comes about that sometimes certain people in my personal life do become the characters in the book. And I'm thinking of the grandmother in The Sheik's Son. Her name was Eugenie, and she's kind of like very traditional, but she's got some, you know, some funniness to her. And I did put my own grandmother into that. So it's never like I consciously do it, but it does come out. I think that's just kind of normal because the people in your life are gonna influence, you know, the characters. So no, you can't drive me to put you into my novels.
Who knows? Maybe not me personally, actually. But, now, Love in the Valley of the Kings. For what I understand, it's a book that takes place in London or England and Egypt.
Yes.
And I noticed in this particular book an element that I did not see in the other books, which seems to be somewhat of a murder mystery romance. How true is that?
Yeah, it is kind of a thriller. When I was first kind of, you know, conceptualizing the book, I did want the woman, the main character, Emma, to be an archaeologist and have had studied and have a degree, which for 1920s, it wasn't rare, but it also wasn't the norm like it is now. And her father, I made her father a renowned archaeologist, and I kind of fashioned him over Howard Carter, who discovered King Tut. And so when they leave the Haywards, that's the family, when they leave and go to Egypt, they kind of hook up with another family that's there, who's also, the father is an archaeologist. And then there's the half Egypt, half British archaeologist, and that's Winston, and that's who Emma kind of falls in love with. And no, I never set out to make it a thriller, but I've always been a big fan of Egypt and Egyptology, and I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan, so it just kind of came together. But it was fun to write, so I really enjoyed writing that. But yeah, it was definitely not planned on a thriller, being a thriller.
And I was impressed personally, and it made sense to me afterwards that this was the killer, and you explained it why, which is, I really enjoyed that about the book, that you explained. And it made sense, the explanations. It wasn't forced, in my opinion, for somebody who was not known for writing books that are murder mysteries or thriller. More than anything, I found it to be a murder mystery than a thriller. There was some elements of thrill in it, but it was mostly a historical romance with a twist.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad.
And did you have a lot of fun writing that one?
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, it kind of combined a lot of things that I really enjoy, which is, writing historical romance, Egypt, the thriller aspect, and I definitely think I would like to revisit that, but I never say never, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to write.
There's more to the book for what I read than what you're telling us right now.
I mean, there's a lot of like I said, there's the two main families, the Brookses, who have a mother, a father, and a daughter who's in her 20s, and then Emma is in her 20s, and she has a younger sister. And again, they're just kind of all converging on the compound in the Valley of the Kings, and that's where they're looking for this. What Rupert has done, he has been excavating in Egypt for over 20 years and in other places, and he is convinced that there is an intact tomb. Intact meaning that by the 1920s, most of the tombs that were discovered and had been discovered were tombs that were completely ravaged, meaning they had been discovered already, or the grave robbers had gotten there before them. Tomb robbing was a big thing between like the 1880s and that time period. So Rupert is convinced that there is an intact tomb, and so he has a Lord of the Realm finance his final season there. And again, it does mirror a lot of what Howard Carter did, because Howard Carter was the same way. He was convinced that there was an intact tomb. Everybody thought he was crazy, and of course now he's remembered as one of the great archaeologists of the field. But yeah, it's fun. And so when they converge in the compound in the valley, they're all, and she's this some archaeologist himself, and and things start happening, and then Kitty, the younger daughter of the Brookses, falls in love with one of the other Egypt archaeologists. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I think people who enjoy Egypt, who enjoy historical romances, will enjoy this novel. I hope they will.
No, I agree, and you're starting to develop. And now we're going into more of a personal part of this informal interview, that you're starting to develop a bit of a following. You're basically new to the author zine writing zine. How's that experience? How long have you been writing? Now speaking of you personally, how long have you been writing? What led you into writing? Now you have 5 books on Amazon, and
yes.
You're one's coming out, I understand, next month?
Mid-September, yes.
And then you have one on the way right now that you're working on. So you stay pretty busy,
yes.
Which is very uncommon for very new independent writers, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I've been writing. Well, I published The Sheik and the Slave February 2014. And what happened is that The Sheik and the Slave was originally chapters on another website, and I had a dear friend tell me, you should really turn this into a book. And I kept saying, no, I'm not going to. And the job I was working at the time was really unfulfilling. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to. And so that was the first step, and it did really well. I was really surprised. I'm not sure if it was the following or the fact that it's a little sexy, but it did really well. And then I just, went from there. So I do keep abreast of, the indie writer scene, and they all seem to say the same thing: keep writing. So that's what I've done. And, I really enjoy the historical aspect. When I was a reader, I always read historical romances. So now that I'm a writer, I just, I look at a place in time or a country, and I'm like, oh, that's where I want to be at. And so, it's just it just comes to me. And, but I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, the fans are always great. I have, my website and, a monthly newsletter and Facebook and Twitter. So, I love hearing from them, and it's great. I mean, people are really open to that indie scene, and I'm very thankful for them, because without those readers, taking a chance on somebody that's unknown, I wouldn't exist. And so I'm very grateful, very grateful.
Now, so that is where readers can find you. It's your website. They can subscribe there to your newsletter, you're saying, and
Yes.
that's how they can follow you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, if you go to the website at the very bottom, there's a place where all you do is put your name and email, and I try to send out a monthly newsletter. Sometimes, it might not be monthly, but it just depends on what's going on. So usually
And
it's
that's
monthly, and it's just kind of updates of what's happening. And yeah, it's fun to be in contact.
and that's how I received, actually noticed that you were coming out with your book, which is
Okay.
already out. Now, the book coming out in September, what is
Yes.
that about?
The mid-September book is tentatively titled The Three Graces, and it's very close to my heart only because it takes place in 1830s, what they called Alta, California back then, and that was California when it was a Mexican territory. And I only say that because I'm a California girl. And so I've always wanted to write about that time period. And the Three Graces are three sisters. They're the De La Rosa sisters, and you've got the one sister who's kind of the main character, Natalia, and then you have Narcissa, who's the middle daughter, who's a little flirtatious and fun, and then Nettie is the baby, and she's kind of not as pretty, but she's very sweetly natured, and so it takes place in Santa Barbara. Actually, I put it in Santa Barbara when the state was large ranchos, and the father, Francisco Don Paco, he is charged with breaking up the lands from when they were given to the mission. So he has the, I guess, you unsavory or savory, depending on how you look at it from whose point of view, of breaking up the land and divvying it out. And so that's why they're there, because they're actually originally from Sonora in Mexico. And it's just a lot of fun. I mean, the characters were fun, and like I said, being of California, I really enjoyed writing this book. And yeah, hopefully once it comes back from the editor and the cover is done, I expect it out mid-September. So that will be number 6. I'm sorry?
Looking forward.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it'll be I think people will really like it. It's a fun book.
And we'll talk more about it then.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for being here today. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, just as I mentioned, I do have my website and my Twitter account and my Facebook. So if you're interested in connecting and seeing what I'm up to, please join me, follow me, Twitter, and we'll be in touch. And then, like I said, I'm always working on a new novel.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.